Today, I really want to take you through what you can do to unlock stakeholder management. I'm assuming at this point that you have already identified all of your stakeholders. If not, really do that. Sit down and write down who are all of your stakeholders. Stakeholders meaning anyone who can impact your project or who's impacting your project. Secondly, create a classic stakeholder map. I'm not going to go through in this video how to do that, but there are ample resources out there on how to create a stakeholder map where you look at how much power and influence do your various stakeholders have and how supportive are they. Right now, I want to go further with you. So I'm assuming you've already mapped out your stakeholders, you know who they are, and you know who the stakeholders are who are probably not fully on board with your project. Okay, so how do you go deeper? Well, I'm going to take you through a little exercise. And for that exercise, I propose you choose 3 of your most risky stakeholders. So choose 3 names, not departments, not groups of stakeholders, 3 specific people, stakeholders, who have high power and influence. So they have the power to potentially change your project, stop your project, really impact the direction of your project. And perhaps there's not full trust between you and them. There's room for improvement in your relationship. So please write down the 3 names of those 3 stakeholders. Now we're going to look at their interest. What do these 3 stakeholders, maybe just choose one of them initially. Choose the most risky stakeholder. What is this stakeholder's interest in your project? What do they want and what do they need? Because if there is some kind of clash between you, if you get frustrated with their continuous requests, for instance, we really need to look at what their interest is. What is the angle they're coming from? Are they looking for this project to be a real success? Are they looking for this project to deliver something specific because it's going to enhance their own position, for instance? What is it they're looking for? Write that down. What is their interest? What are their wants? What are their needs? Maybe in general, and maybe for this specific situation or conversation you're having with them. Maybe it's a specific change request that you are discussing. Maybe it's a technical solution you're discussing. What is their interest? What do they want and what do they need? After you've looked at that, consider your own interest. Because if you have the same interest and the same needs, presumably there would not be a conflict. Presumably you would be already having very good trust with them. So what is it that you want and need from this situation or from this relationship with the stakeholder? And how might that differ from your stakeholder's wants and needs? Maybe you want them to review documents quickly. Maybe your stakeholder doesn't have the time to do that. So just look at the different wants and needs that you each have and write that down. Now, in all of this, as you are beginning to build trust with your stakeholder, you will be having conversations with them, whether it's in person or online. It's very important that you notice your own state of mind, that you notice your own emotional state. Because if you have a little disagreement with a stakeholder, it's very likely that you are going to show that frustration towards them. You might inadvertently exclude them from certain meetings or not copy them in on everything, or you might choose a certain tone when you discuss with them. So really notice if you have any kind of anger towards them, or if you have any kind of blame towards them, or anything negative at all, because your stakeholder is going to pick it up, consciously or unconsciously. So now you're here to build trust with your stakeholders. You're here to win over all of your stakeholders. That's the whole point of stakeholder management, to really bring all your stakeholders on board so that you're all moving in the same direction so they can all support you and your project. So if you have any kind of animosity, be it justified or not, be absolutely clear that you work through that on your own so you don't come out with any blame towards them or any negativity, because it's just not going to help you in the relationship. So how can you avoid that? How can you avoid engaging with some of these negative emotions? That's an answer you need to find for yourself. Sometimes we have really challenging situations and relationships with stakeholders, and you need to dig deep to find out what can you say to yourself to start afresh with a stakeholder. Given that you now understand more about their needs and their wants, what can you do to approach them on their terms? And then I really recommend very strongly that you complete a communication plan. Now, this can be a simple Excel sheet, and you can download this communication plan from my website for free, susannemadsen.com/resources. This is not a document that you share with anyone. It's a working document for yourself that enable you to analyze your stakeholders. So what do you find in this communication plan? Well, first of all, you list their name, you list how much power they have over the project, what their interest is. And then it becomes, let's say, a bit interesting, because now you look at their communication needs. What is the preference of this stakeholder? How can you best communicate with them on their terms? So let me give you some examples. Some stakeholders like very formal communication. They like a weekly status report or a bi-monthly status report. They want it all in writing, and they want it to follow a certain template. If that's them, then that's what you should do. That's the way you can get through to them and influence them. Some stakeholders are completely different. They want you to pick up the phone if something happens straight away. They're happy with ad hoc communication. They might even want you to drop by their desk and fill them in. If you don't know what your stakeholders' communication preferences are, do ask them. This is not about guessing. This is about knowing. So ask your stakeholder, how would you like me to escalate issues to you? How would you like me to keep you informed? And pay good attention to that. Now, if you have 20, 30 stakeholders, you probably cannot tailor your communication to all of them. But here we're talking about your top 3 stakeholders or your top 5 stakeholders. You absolutely can and must adjust your communication to them if you want to bring them on board and if you want to build trust with them. Another aspect that you're looking at in your communication plan and that you are analyzing is, what are their concerns? What is each stakeholder's concerns? What do they worry about? Knowing about their worries and concerns, again, can help you to build trust. It can help you cater for their needs. Because another way of thinking about your stakeholders is that your stakeholders are really your clients. If you have 20 stakeholders, you may have 20 clients, because they all have requirements for your project. You can also analyze and put in the communication plan, what expertise does each of these stakeholders bring? And then you can really conclude, what action do you need to take based on the information you know about each stakeholder? What can you do to best communicate with them, be it regularly in writing or be it when you have conversations about moving the project forward? If you have a disagreement, how can you best approach them without negativity, with openness and curiosity, and by catering to their communication preferences? Good luck, and thank you for listening.